The strengthening of relations between Morocco and Israel in the military, security and diplomatic fields was one of the most prominent events of the year 2021 in Morocco. Although the return of relations between the two countries began since the signing of the tripartite agreement between the United States, Morocco, and Israel on December 22, 2020, relations have developed further during this year, especially with the visit of the Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid and Defense Benny Gantz to Morocco, and sign agreements. These developments led to a high level of tension in relations between Morocco and Algeria, although tension has persisted between them since the mid-70s of the last century due to Algeria's hostility to the territorial integrity of Morocco, and the unilateral declaration of the separatist Polisario Front in 1976, establishing the Sahrawi Republic with the support of Algeria. Houari Boumediene and Libya Muammar Gaddafi. The return of relations between Morocco and Israel came after former U.S. President Donald Trump signed a presidential decree on December 10, 2020, according to which the United States recognizes the Moroccan Sahara, which constituted a major shift in the American position, but it was linked to a comprehensive agreement requiring the return of relations between Morocco and Israel. On December 22, 2020, an Israeli plane landed at Rabat Airport, on the first direct commercial flight from Israel to Morocco, with President Trump's advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner and then Israeli National Security Advisor Meir Ben-Shabbat, a Jew of Moroccan origin, the special assistant to the American president and representative on board. Special in charge of international negotiations Avraham Berkowitz. During the visit, agreements were signed between Morocco and Israel, including opening a direct air line between the two countries, linking the two banking systems in the two countries, in addition to managing water resources, according to official Israeli sources. However, these relations have taken on greater dimensions since the visits of Lapid and Gantz last November, when two agreements were signed in August 2021 between Lapid and his Moroccan counterpart Nasser Bourita, to deepen cooperation and strengthen relations, and a memorandum of understanding to create a mechanism for political consultation. The first agreement included cooperation in the fields of culture, sports, youth, and the promotion and development of bilateral relations and cooperation on air services between the two countries. Indeed, direct commercial flights between the two countries were launched on July 25, last. Gantz's visit to Rabat attracted great media attention, as it was the first for an Israeli defense minister to Morocco. During which, a memorandum of understanding in the field of military and security cooperation was signed, the first of its kind between Israel and an Arab country. The Memorandum of Understanding outlines security cooperation between Morocco and Israel in its various forms in the face of threats and challenges facing the region, according to what the Israeli side said. This memorandum will allow Morocco to acquire high-tech Israeli military equipment, in addition to cooperation in operational planning and research and development. But this development in relations with Israel, and Rabat's acquisition of an American position in support of the Moroccan Sahara issue, angered Algeria, which took a series of hard stances toward Morocco, which amounted to a threat of war. Algeria does not hide its support for the Polisario Front, which demands the separation of the Sahara from Morocco, shelters its fighters in the Tindouf camps, southeast of Algeria, and supplies them with weapons and equipment. It also enlists its diplomacy in international forums to defend what it describes as the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination. In August 2020, Morocco's representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Omar Hilal, raised the issue of Kabylia in Algeria, as a reaction to Algeria's support for the secession of the Sahara, considering that the Kabyle people also have the right to self-determination, asking, why does Algeria deny the secession of the Sahara? What do the Moroccans demand of the Sahara? In response to this position, Algeria cut diplomatic relations with Morocco on August 24, prevented Moroccan planes from crossing its airspace, and refused to renew the agreement to transport gas through Moroccan soil to Europe via the Maghreb pipeline. The issue of espionage using the Israeli Pegasus program came to add more fuel to the fire of tension between the two countries, after Algeria accused Rabat of using the program to spy on its senior officials. However, the threats took serious dimensions, when Algeria accused Rabat of targeting 2 Algerian trucks with advanced weapons on the 1st of last November, which led to the killing of 3 of its citizens in a bombing that it said took place in the border area between Mauritania and the desert lands, the buffer zone in the Moroccan Sahara. She vowed that the matter would not go unpunished, as Rabat denied these accusations. A high-ranking Moroccan source told Agence France Presse, AFP, if Algeria wants war, Morocco does not. The same source also denied that the Royal Armed Forces launched a raid on civilian or military targets in Mauritania or Algeria, considering that the Moroccan aerial bombardment of Algerian trucks on their way to Mauritania is a fabricated case. The Mauritanian authorities also denied carrying out any attack inside its territory. The same source revealed that 2 Algerian trucks crossed a minefield, and they were carrying military equipment for the Polisario Front. It turned out that the 2 trucks were passing in a buffer zone east of the security wall that Morocco built to counter the attacks of the Polisario Front militia, a demilitarized Moroccan territory that is monitored by the United Nations mission in the Sahara, MINURSO. This escalation came after recording the killing of 3 Moroccan drivers in northern Mali in September 2021, as a result of an armed attack by unknown persons on their commercial truck, which was crossing from Morocco to Africa. There was talk at the time of the Algerian intelligence's involvement in the attack. Observers believe that the fire of differences between Morocco and Algeria has flared up strongly since the announcement of the American recognition of the Moroccan Sahara, and before that the Moroccan army liberated the Guerguerat border crossing from the Polisario elements who obstructed the commercial and civil transport movement between Morocco and Mauritania, and returned things to normal. The Algerian campaign against Morocco intensified after Lapid's visit to Rabat, from which he criticized Algeria, accusing it of rapprochement with Iran. Gantz's visit to Rabat also heightened Algerian tension. Algeria, which will host the Arab Summit next March, announced through its officials that the next summit will discuss the situation in Palestine and the issue of the Sahara. The response to the Algerian desire was not late, and it was clear and explicit from the last 42nd summit of the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council, which was held in Riyadh on December 14 under the chairmanship of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council states, according to what was stated in the final statement of the summit, affirmed their firm positions and decisions in support of the Moroccanness of the Sahara and the preservation of the security, stability, and territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Morocco. The final statement of the summit praised